right. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a while. Well, really hasn't been a while since I put something out, but it's been a while since I've done a Kickstarter and talked to a Kickstarter creator. And today we have Steve Bryant, who has been on the show before, but it's been too long because it was back in 2000 when he was kickstarting his other book, The Catch. Steve is an Eisner, Manning, and Harvey nominated creator, writer, and artist of books like Athena Voltaire. And he has a new book. It's called Evie and the Helsings, #1. So he is joining us today. So let me just bring him in and we'll find out what he's been up to. And we will find out about the book. So I try to get the right layout. And there we go.
Hey, Chad, how's it going?
How's it going? It's as I was saying, I didn't realize it was so long since we last talked.
Yeah, you said 2000, but I think it has to be after that.
Sorry, not 2000, 2020, 220.
Okay,
2020.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah.
That year, the year that went on forever.
Oh, that was a year. So I think last time I was on, maybe I was talking about the third issue of The Catch.
Yes.
And we since did a trade for that. And that's where I am now. It's a better year now than it was 2.5, 3 years ago.
So tell us, before we get into the project, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what your kind of your background, and
okay.
It might as well, since it's been so long, let's tell us again what, if you remember maybe the first comic book that you read, or the one that got you hooked.
Okay, yeah, I'll ramble and you can give me the sign and I'll shout. But yeah, I write and draw comics, and yeah, the first comic that really I remember making an impact on me, as a really little kid, I read war comics and Western comics, Sergeant Fury, Kid Cold Outlaw, stuff like that. It was in the 70s, so there was a lot more diversity in the newsstand stuff before superhero stuff was still happening, but you could still get these other series. But I was 9 years old, I think, 1974, and Avengers 129, Kang the Conqueror on the cover, and he has like the caption "Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye," and it was Steve Englehart and Sal Buscema. I can't remember who inked it, and it led right into Giant Size Avengers #2, which I remember vividly picking up at the grocery store off the spinner rack. It was Steve Englehart, mostly with Sal Buscema, but like Dave Cockrum did that Giant Size, and it was the start of the whole Celestial Madonna storyline in the Avengers, all the Kang stuff, and it just blew my little mind. And from there, I picked up a ton of Marvel comics in the 70s, with like the one DC exception was Jack Kirby's Commandy, because I just thought that was mind blowing. It was great. So those were the big things that got me going, and then into the 80s, getting into independent comics. Shakin's American Flag, Baron and Rude on Nexus, Airboy, Dave Stevens on the Rocketeer, Mark Schultz on Cenozoic Tales, and that was kind of the big paradigm shift for me. Seeing artists like Stevens and discovering Al Williamson and Schultz kind of really moved where my style would go in terms of drawing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I worked in role-playing games for about 10 years before finally feeling like I could try to break into comics. Sorry,
No, that was perfect. I mean, I always enjoy hearing people talk about how they got into, comics and the first one they read because it's always so different. But we're all here.
Yes.
And so, your first creative work was Athena Voltaire, correct?
Yeah, yeah, and that was largely just because, well, two things. The name kind of struck me. I had the name before I really had the character, and then I built some stuff out from there. But I had been schlepping my portfolio to various conventions, trying to get work as a penciler or an inker, and mostly as a penciler or a penciler and an inker, I should say. And it was that whole thing of someone would give you a card and say, yeah, follow up with me, blah blah blah. There was it was still mostly phone calls. There were still emails a bit, but this was the early 2000s, and you call and you reach out and it's like, hey, I showed my portfolio to you. I'm the guy that had the Starman samples. No, not those Starman samples. It's been gray and blah, blah. And I just realized the enormity of the number of people that were submitting work, and just kind of decided to see what else I could do. So I started pitching Athena. I got a little more interest because I figured if I was working up samples, I might as well be doing samples of like a dream project. And Athena Voltaire is 1930s pulp adventure, kind of Indiana Jones starring a woman pilot. And I didn't get work that way, but it was valuable to put the portfolio together. And a friend pointed me to a website, a webcomic startup called Adventure Strips. And it was part of the Modern Family group of Modern Tales family of web strips. Oh, I need more caffeine today. The Modern Tales family of web comics, and because they had a couple of other sites, Modern Tales, Adventure Strips, Girl-O-Matic, Graphic Smash, and Chris Mills, who was the editor at Modern Tales, loved the work, and so we launched Athena as a webcomic in, I want to say, fall of 2002. And then, yeah, just kind of did webcomic for a few years. That's where we got the Eisner Award nomination. And promptly after getting that as a webcomic artist, of course, I did what everyone would do, and I scrapped webcomics and tried to dive into print comics. And that was, I did not take over the world like I thought I would. And then in 2010, I started on my first Kickstarter with Athena Voltaire, and we overfunded. We did great. And so when I finished that, I promptly abandoned crowdfunding again to try to make a go of it with direct market stuff. And it was like 4 years ago that I realized I get in on things early, and I've been abandoning stuff to go right back to the direct market where I don't have success. So I said, well, I'm going to go back to crowdfunding. And I funded 3 issues of The Catch, and Athena Voltaire trade paperback, and The Catch trade paperback. And I realized that's kind of my sweet spot, because I'm able to communicate with directly with people who have liked the books. And I'd still like to get the books into comic shops, but for now, it really seems to be kind of a lot more certainty than, if you look at the direct market with, publishers declaring bankruptcy and reorganizing and not paying. So what was the question? I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. As you were talking about your Athena Voltaire work, I remember that my first exposure to that was getting a trade at the Comic Geek Speaks, one of the Comic Geek Speak super shows or episode, special get-togethers. Probably, yeah. So, Yeah, I remember, knowing of you through that group, and good to see that you're still, doing well for yourself.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been really fortunate that Comic Geek Speak, Around Comics, 11 O'Clock Comics, and Word Balloon have all, from what, 15 years ago. Those were podcasts that, I shouldn't say latched on, but saw the work and enjoyed it and shared it. And I owe them, all four of them, just I feel like an incredible debt for sharing my work. So that I can't understate the success of those times, kind of during the Wild West days of podcasting.
Yeah. So let's talk about the new project. Tell us about it, what it is, and kind of give us a elevator pitch of it.
Okay, the title is Evie and the Helsings, and the pitch is essentially, for generations, the Van Helsing family has protected humanity against the things that go bump in the night. But the last protector has fallen, and the mantle goes to her daughter. But the problem is, Evie Van Helsing just wants to rock. So yeah, it's Evie's name is kind of a play on Eddie Van Halen, if Eddie Van Halen were in the Van Helsing family. But it'd be poor taste to have Eddie Van Helsing. But that was kind of the start of the idea.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Don Cardenas is penciling and inking, and Jason Millet, who's colored my work on Athena Voltaire, and Mark Stegbauer's work on our book Ghoul Scouts. Jason's coloring, and Chris Murrin, who pretty much edits everything that I write, is editing this book, and then I'm also doing letters. But
Nice.
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And it is probably easy working with people that you've worked with before.
Yeah. I think we all have kind of a, hey kids, let's put on a show mentality with it, and kind of building on what we've done before. There's certainly
Mm-hmm.
like a comfort level to it. So I'm stupid lucky. By the way, I'm trying to focus on looking at the camera instead of looking at my screen, so I have no idea if I look like I'm possessed. But this is my new podcast strategy, is to look at the camera instead of doing this, because then
You're doing fine. I mean,
like serial killer look. I can't sit still in
well,
my chair.
it's a perfect way to pitch the book.
Oh, there you go. No,
So
I'm too spastic. I've got like big Kermit the Frog energy when I'm talking, so I need to try to sit still and focus.
that's okay. You're doing great. So it's a 4-issue miniseries, correct?
Yeah, and the Kickstarter is for the first issue. Standard 32-page American comic, 22 pages of story. We've got a bunch of making of stuff in the back, cardstock covers, and a bunch of variant. And I shouldn't say a bunch. Three variant covers.
Yeah, I was just looking at the variant covers that you have, and one of the stretch goals was the Tomb of Dracula homage. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm really happy with that cover. And yeah, we've got we met one of our stretch goals, so we were able to do a postcard of that as well. But yeah, it's Don and I knew we wanted to do kind of a retro cover, and Don seized upon the idea to do kind of a retro homage. And so it's either Tomb of Dracula 10 or 12. I can't remember which one, but the first appearance of Blade the Vampire Slayer. And yeah, Don penciled it, and then I tried to do my best Tom Palmer to ink it and color it. And then we did this. I kind of set up like, well, I did like the logo hand drawn, and followed I think it's Comicraft. The font people have a tutorial on how you can create an aged looking cover. So I kind of followed that tutorial and got the really worn looking book, and it was a blast. And people have responded well to it. So we're probably going to do a retro homage in each issue, and we've talked about 3 of them, and I have to pitch Don my idea for the 4th.
Nice. So, book, is there a character that, excuse me, that you enjoy writing the most, or one that you've found difficult to write at first, and then as you've the story kind of took its found its feet and took shape, that you became more attached to?
You were breaking up at the beginning. Were you, in regard to your question, were you asking overall, like in all the books, or in EVIE?
Or in EVIE?
Okay, in EVIE, the characters all kind of started to come together just as we were going, and I feel like I'm not going to say that it was easy, because it's never easy, but I mean, it's not like, hard labor, but it was, the book kind of took a turn from what I originally thought the tone would be, because I really was expecting it to be goofier and bloodier, but somewhere along well, it's still pretty bloody, but like in terms of the goofy aspect, we don't really hit that the way that I thought we would, because I had in mind just, this is Spinal Tap level of meets Ash versus Evil Dead, those kinds of levels of absurdity. But as I was writing it and talking with Don and Chris, the characters I started to kind of fall in love with the characters, in that they weren't just goofy ciphers that we could torture with bad musical experiences and monsters. They started to become these characters, and we started to figure out what their relationships were, and suddenly there was a lot more heart to the book than I think any of us really intended when we started it. It was kind of fun to see it shift over to this and start to develop these themes of like found family and stuff like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still plenty of vampire killing and splatter. But yeah, I think the characters started to kind of give us ideas on their own humanity. And I know that's not super pretentious. That's why I have to balance it by saying plenty of bloodshed and guitar solos still.
Now, have you been in a rock band, or kind of pulled any experience for that part of the story, component of the story?
Yeah, no, Don is still active as a musician, and in another life, I played in bands and stuff. I mean, I eventually found out that as a musician, I make a pretty good illustrator, so I left that. But yeah, I think some of those little small time band interactions and personalities kind of found their way into the book. Because I think that in various bands and in various phases of my life, because I did it for on and off for probably 10 years. But I think at one time or another, I was pretty much every one of those archetypes. The one that was too serious about the band and wanting everybody else to take it more seriously. And, the ungrounded dreamer, the one who didn't work hard enough, and the one that tried to peace with everybody. Yeah, at various times, I think I was every one of those guys. And I think some of those personality things kind of find their way into the book. And I think because I can relate to each one of them, I'm trying to make each one have a a perspective where it's like they're not a bad person, they're just really focused on this, or they really need this sense of community in the band or whatever. I have no experience killing monsters though. I think I'd be too much of a coward to follow through on that, but the band stuff I have some experience with.
So what rewards level are you offering people for the project?
We've got a digital reward that's a digital copy of the book. And then we've got the main cover, which is penciled, inked, and colored by Don. And then we have 3 variants. I did a variant that was colored by Jason Millet, who colored the inside of the book. And then we have the retro homage variant that you and I were talking about. And we've got a black and white variant, without logo, without trade dress. The industry term is virgin variant when there's no logo on it. And I took the art that I had done for my variant, and I digitally replicated a kind of paper that was really in vogue from the 50s to the 80s called Duo Shade, which is a lot like Zipatone, except instead of laying a clear plastic film on the artwork, it has a pre-printed pattern in non-photo blue that you activate with a couple of developers. So it creates kind of a crosshatch. And my idea for that was I wanted to pay tribute to Tim Bradstreet's iconic artwork from Vampire the Masquerade, the first edition of that game from like 30 years ago. Because Tim's work on that's beautiful. It's vampires. It fits with the period of what we're doing. And Tim was one of the first mentors I had in terms of making comics. So I thought it was kind of a nice little, tip of the hat. We do have another variant, a chrome variant, that's the main Kickstarter image, and that'll be printed on silver metallic paper cardstock. Okay, working my way through the rewards. We've got a reward set that has a couple of guitar picks, and then we have 2 different box sets. We've got a box set, the Blizzard of Evie box set, where we riffed on the Ozzy Osbourne Blizzard of Oz album cover. And that's got all the variant covers, including the chromium variant, losing my voice. Plus, it's got a sketch variant that Don pencils and I'm inking. And it's got an exclusive variant that's only in the box set, which is the Blizzard of Evie variant cover. So that's a lot of fun. And then we've got a mystery box that's got some original art from Don and some original art from me, the main cover of the book, and then I think a comic from Don, a comic from me, and a trade from me. So that's a lot of fun. And then Don's sketch level, commission level is sold out, and we have 1 commission left from me. But otherwise, yeah, sorry, I know that was a heck of a long answer, and I apologize, but it was a lot of fun to put these together, because just kind of coming up with, goofy ideas for variants and fun stuff to put in a box set. It kind of plays right into that whole thing of, what do I want to get from creators I like or from a book I like? Well, let's put that in here.
Definitely. So, as we start to wrap up, is there anything else that I didn't ask about that you wanted to mention about the project?
I'm drawing a complete blank. Other than that, it's been a lot of fun. We've gotten a great response to it. So Don has already penciled, inked, and colored the main cover for issue 2. I've got my pencils and inks done and have passed my variant for issue 2 on to Jason. So since issue 1 is pretty much done, and once we get the funds from the Kickstarter, we're just going to send it right to the printer, but we're already ready to start on the issue 2 campaign, which will be sometime in the spring. So we're really excited. We want to see if we can do 3 or 4 campaigns this year and try to get a lot done with the book.
Nice. So as we wrap up, if you want to give a kind of a last minute pitch, because I mean you have about just over a week left.
Yeah.
You've already far exceeded your goal that you wanted to, which is great. But there's always should still check it out and back it because it looks like a fun project. Would you like to kind of give a pitch for the book and maybe where people can find you online?
Yeah, sure. The book, again, just to try to put on my salesman hat, we've already gotten unlocked 7 stretch goals. We're over halfway to the 8th one. So in addition to all the stuff we were just now talking about, backers get a 3-inch circular sticker that says funding goal rocked in 26 hours. I think 12, a digital bundle of 12 books plus Evie and the Helsings #1, so 13 digital comics. 2 2-inch stickers, a 6x9 mini print, and we've got a couple of Don and I will be doing a live stream that you'll be able to get as an MP3, and we have 1 4x6 postcard that everyone gets, and we're about $450 away from a second postcard. So we're really like stocking up on all of the extras. So I know sometimes Kickstarters can feel a little pricey, but when we're in the sweet spot right now where yeah, there's a $15 book, but you're starting to accumulate a big stack of extra stuff you get with it, which is kind of fun. I don't know if that was a good pitch or not. I'm not a good salesman.
No, that was great. And where can people find your work? Can they find your work online, or do you still do the webcomic? What was it?
Maximus Rex?
Yes.
That's on temporary hold, but I want to get back to it this year. Twitter and Instagram, you can find me. I'm at Steve Bryant Art. And then I have a monthly newsletter that I send out that shares like some behind the scenes artwork and stuff like that. You can subscribe to that from my website, which is stevebryantcomics.com. So those are my main.
All right.
places.
Well. Okay.
Sorry.
Great. So no, that's fine. But I want to thank you once again for joining us again, and maybe after when you are looking at the trade, we'll come back and try to do a recap of the series as a whole.
No, that sounds great. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate being able to come on and shill for myself.
Well, if people want to see more of me on online, I guess, then they can find me at Comic Watch, where I write and I can't talk now.
Same.
And I'm also the co-host of the bi-weekly show that we do, the Comic Watchers. So that's where you can find me. But check out Steve's stuff first. Don't worry about me. And it was great to see. Oh, are you planning on doing any conventions? Because I know back when we talked in 2020, that was kind of course, on hold.
Yeah. I'll be at C2E2 in Artist Alley, and at San Diego Comic-Con in Small Press. And I would be glad to go to any conventions that want to invite me to. I'm a pretty good lecturer. I'm talking about crowdfunding and publishing and packaging work and teaching comics and art on a university level. So, hey, if you want to, you can reach out to me and bring me to your con.
All right. Well, I want to again thank you for taking the time today, and good luck as you wrap up the Kickstarter for issue one. And we'll be in touch as the rest of the issues come out.
Sounds good. Thanks so much for having me, and we'll check in soon, I guess.
Well, hopefully sooner than 2 years later.
Okay, I'll hold you to that.
All right. Thank you, and have a good day.
You too. See ya.
Yeah.